Now, the reason your offer isn't selling typically comes down to a few reasons. Now, this video is for you if you're actively marketing yourself on social media already, you're having conversations with people, but you're struggling to get people over the line and to actually say yes. People are also responding to your messages and offers with, I need to think about it, your prices are too expensive, I need to speak to my spouse, or they're just blanking you entirely. If you're struggling with any of those issues, going forward without a structured plan is just an uphill battle. And no amount of content ads, manual DMs, sales calls, cold calls is actually going to fix it. Because if your offer is broken, your business is broken. And so what we like to say is that your offer is actually the heart of what you're selling. It's the thing right in the center that everything else is built upon. So your headlines, your programs, your offerings, the conversations you have, the content you produce is all centered around your offer. And if your offer isn't as strong and healthy as it possibly can be, you're going to be fighting an uphill battle. Whenever a new client joins Brave's brand, one of the first things we do is look at the brand's offer, because usually that's the lowest hanging fruit possible. If you can fix your offer, you're going to unlock a huge amount of power in your brand. There are typically 3 reasons your offer isn't converting. Number 1 is your messaging is unclear and potential clients don't immediately grasp the transformation you provide. Number 2 is you're attracting the wrong audience. So high-ticket clients look for specific signals before making a decision, and you're not showcasing clear outcomes. You've probably heard this before, but clients don't buy a service, they buy the results it delivers. So let's break down number 1. So when your marketing messaging is unclear, typically what you'll find is that you will always reach a certain income ceiling. And so if someone comes to me with a business who's making $10,000 a month, the reason they're not making $100,000 a month comes down to their copy, their marketing, and their messaging. Now, if you don't have a message which is custom fit for your ideal audience, which means it speaks to the heart and soul of the person you're trying to communicate to, then frankly, your marketing message has already failed. One of the fastest ways to get a marketing message clear and locked in place is to understand one thing, and that's the fact that your client is completely me-centric, which means they are only interested in one thing, and that's what benefits are in this for me. And so if they get onto your page or if they get into your Instagram account and you're saying words like you're speaking about yourself all of the time, then frankly, that's going to completely make your client gloss over and they're not actually going to take in your message at all. And so I can't tell you how many times I see it. You go onto people's profiles and it is all about them. All right. And one of the most important things you can understand is that you have to speak to the heart and soul of your client and always speak to their me-centricity, which means using less words like I and more words like you in your marketing copy. All right. And the more that you can understand what your client is going through on a daily basis, what keeps them awake at night, what are their daily concerns, what are their fears, what are their desires, what things motivate them. The more you can understand these things, the better you can create a clear picture of what is going on in their daily life, and the more you can tailor your marketing message to them. One way I like to actually get clear detail on this is to make sure I'm recording all of my sales calls using a tool called Fathom. And what this allows me to do is to basically review my sales calls after the call, go into the transcription and actually ask ChatGPT to help analyze what the core problems were the client was speaking about, what the core problems were the client was struggling with, and what the core desires are that the client was hoping to achieve. What I can then do is actually take the words that they gave me and start to feed that back into my marketing messaging to make my prospects feel like I'm speaking directly to their soul, almost like I've torn a page out of their own personal diary and I'm literally reading it back to them. All right, that's one of the fastest ways to make sure your marketing message is clear. And this kind of leads on into the second point. Most of the time, your offer isn't converting well enough because you're attracting the wrong audience. And you actually attract the wrong audience because your marketing message is unclear too. And so the way that you actually dial in the marketing message and actually start attracting the right audience is to know exactly who you're speaking to. And the reason you're probably attracting the wrong audience is because your marketing message is probably too broad at this stage. The analogy I like to use for this is if you've watched any of those Discovery channels where the guys actually go out and they're hunting for gold around the place. Most of the times they're digging all around this field and they're spreading themselves quite wide to initially find where the gold is. And so they might find like a little gold deposit here, they might find a few nuggets over there, but eventually they might find a big gold deposit. And when they find that big gold deposit, they put everything else down, they tell everyone else to stop exploring the area, and they create a hole which is a foot wide and they dig that as deep as they possibly can. It's very, very similar in marketing. Initially, when you're starting out, you have to go quite wide to try and figure out where the gold is. But initially, when you can start to find who your ideal client is, and by ideal client, I don't just mean some random person you picked out of thin air. What I mean is basically looking at your most successful client, the client that you've worked with, who you really enjoyed working with that person. That person actually energized you as opposed to drained you. And also that person got great results. So they followed your instructions and they actually got a win. Once you can get a few of those and you can just paint your ideal client around that specific person, then you can basically dig a hole directly down, and you can make sure all of your copy, your programs and everything you're doing, your content is directed and speaking directly to that person. And the more targeted you can do and more niche down you can get with that person, the more powerful your marketing message is going to be and the better your experience is going to be on sales calls. Because if you're selling high ticket services or you're selling an online program, people want to know that it was custom made for them. Okay, and so the whole niching thing has been a conversation for ages, and it's okay to be relatively broad initially with your target audience. That's absolutely fine because you're doing research and you're digging. But just know that when you find that person, it's important for you to strategically think, okay, I'm gonna go all in on that person because everything else changes. Your marketing completely revolutionizes itself. And number 3, the most important part of actually developing a strong offer is understanding that your offer is not the features of what you sell. Okay, it's not how many hours you have in your program. It's not how many calls you're offering per week. It's not how much time you're going to give the client. It's not how many video programs you have. It's not how supportive your community is going to be. It's actually none of those things. So I used to work for big gym companies in the UK and I used to help them with their marketing. And one of the biggest problems we saw with those companies was that in their marketing, they would advertise, we have a 25-meter swimming pool. We have loads of cardio equipment. We have a really nice gym floor. We've got loads of personal trainers, all of this type of thing. And that type of marketing, what we call it, is basically falling into the features trap because they're focusing on the features. And actually, people don't really care that much about the features. Like, yes, it is an important part of the business. Like if you go into the gym and it has terrible equipment, you're probably not going to come back. But the reason people are looking for a solution is because of the benefits it's actually going to provide them. And so you've got to be looking at your offer from a standpoint of what is the transformation that you're trying to basically help people achieve. Because your offer is always a sense of relief that someone can feel. Your offer is a sense of confidence that someone can experience. Your offer is a series of feelings that people can feel. And when you understand that, you can start to leverage people's dream state on the sales calls that you're doing, but also in the copy that you're writing. Because the highest leverage that you can have over someone are their dreams. And the more that you understand that through going through a discovery process, whether it's on the sales call, whether it's through the DMs, whether it's through application forms, when you really know what people's true values are and what their real dream state is, whether it be to have more peace, to have more family time, to have financial freedom. When you understand what those things are through asking questions and being a detective through your sales process, you can then feed that person's dreams and values back to them, and it will be way more motivating than just going in and trying to press and push their pain points and make them feel shit. Because most traditional marketing and traditional sales says that you have to make people agitated, you have to piss them off. And while that does work, okay, a higher form of motivation for people is to actually get them from an inhibitory state to an excitatory state. If you can take someone from a stressed state where they feel terrible, they feel afraid, they feel shit, and you can transfer them and move them into an excitatory state where they're excited and they feel happy and joyous, they're going to be way more inclined to actually pay you high ticket prices because they're in a state of expansion. One of the worst things you can do is sell someone high ticket and they're really, really anxious and stressed about it, because most of the time that creates buyer's remorse. People feel unmotivated, they feel icky throughout the process. I much prefer to get people that I'm speaking to, I much prefer to get them excited and feel really positive about their future. And the way that we do that is to listen to them on the sales call, understand what their dream state is, get them to express what their dream state is, and in the process of expressing their dream state, naturally their body turns into a more excitatory state because they're thinking and imagining and visualizing what this is going to feel like, what their transformation is going to feel like. And at that point, you're going to be way more successful in actually closing them because they are excitatory, they're in expansion, they're expansive. Imagine trying to close someone on a 10K package when they feel fearful, when they feel shit. They need to trust you, and the best way you can get them to trust you is to allow them to express their true dream desire. And if you can do that across your messaging, if you can understand who your target audience is, and if you can start to demonstrate that what life is going to look like after they have implemented your process and had your transformation, you're going to have no problem converting your offers, whether it be on sales pages, sales calls, direct conversations, it doesn't matter. If you can lock those three things in place, you're going to have way more success, you're going to be able to make way more money, and your conversion rate is going to soar through the road, and people are going to think, holy crap, what happened to you? That's awesome. Now, if you like this video, I have an entire process on how to build an engaging and powerful offer using the power of AI to actually help flesh it out of you. We've created a whole step-by-step process around it. If you want access to that, join our community below, and I'll see you on the inside. All right, my friend, all the best.